Now to another twist in the Jeffrey Epstein saga. The Department of Justice is asking for grand jury testimony to be unsealed. Let's bring in ABC's Olivia Rubin. Olivia, explain the significance of this request as the DOJ is up against a tight deadline.
Lindsay, tonight the Justice Department is back in federal court in Florida, again asking a judge to unseal grand jury transcripts from the initial federal investigation into Jeffrey Epstein 2 decades ago. But judges in New York and Florida previously denied similar requests earlier this year, one judge even suggesting DOJ was trying to distract from the records it already has in its possession. And while the new law requires DOJ to release all of its unclassified documents and records related to Epstein and his accomplices, it doesn't mention grand jury transcripts specifically. But the Department of Justice is now arguing those are required, and they are asking a judge to rule quickly here, noting their looming December deadline. Lindsay.
Hi, everyone. Adam is here. Let me paint a picture for you that should make every single person watching this video deeply uncomfortable. You are the Attorney General of the United States. You sit atop the most powerful law enforcement agency in the world. You have the power to investigate anyone, charge anyone, imprison anyone.
It was a hearing that was combative right from the very start.
You can let her filibuster all day long, but not on our watch. Not on our time. No way. And I told you about that, Attorney General, before you started.
You don't tell me.
Yeah, oh, I did tell you because we saw what you did in the Senate.
A hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi that got so heated, one Democratic member left the hearing room.
Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once. When he was
weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to reflect that, you know, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Oh,
is
Jewish.
I just want to be clear.
So you want to go there, Attorney General? Are you serious? Talking about anti-Semitism to a woman who lost her grandfather in the Holocaust.
Bondi challenged by Republican Tom Massie over the Department of Justice redactions in the file.
And right now, you are terrified. Terrified of a federal judge. Terrified of Congress. Terrified that at any moment, someone with actual authority is going to walk into your office and tell you that your time is up. That's where Pam Bondi finds herself tonight. The woman Donald Trump handpicked to run the Justice Department.
So I really have just one question for you. How many of Epstein's co-conspirators have you indicted? How many perpetrators are you even investigating?
First, you showed it. I find it.
How many have you indicted?
Excuse me. I'm going to answer the question.
Answer my question.
No, I'm going to answer the question the way I want to answer the question.
No,
Your
you're going to answer
theatrics
the
are
question the way I
ridiculous.
asked it.
Chairman Jordan, I'm not going to get in the gutter with these people. All right.
My time. The answer to my question, how many of Epstein's co-conspirators has she indicted, is 0.
You sit here and you attack the president, and I am not going to have it. I'm not going to put up with it. And none of them ask Merrick Garland over the last 4 years one word about Jeffrey Epstein.
The loyal soldier who promised to weaponize the DOJ for the president's political agenda is now staring down the barrel of multiple contempt proceedings, expedited court orders, and yes, the very real possibility of arrest. Not some exaggerated internet rumor. Not a clickbait headline with no substance. Actual legitimate legal mechanisms that could result in the Attorney General being taken into custody. And it's all because she's sitting on the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Within 40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
There was one redaction out of
he's
over
listed as a co-conspirator.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal asking Epstein survivors in the audience to stand and offering Bondi the opportunity to apologize to them.
Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through?
I'm not going to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
Afterwards, several of those survivors sitting down with NBC's Hallie Jackson.
Show me your hands if you were satisfied with what you heard from the Attorney General today. Nobody. There wasn't even an adult in the room that could apologize for the damage done to children and girls.
Documents that Congress demanded. documents that a federal transparency law required her to release months ago, documents that potentially contain the names of powerful people connected to one of the most infamous sex traffickers in American history, documents that might just have Donald Trump's name all over them. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening, because the situation is more intense than most people realize. The Epstein Files Transparency Act became law and set a hard deadline of December 19, 2025 for the Justice Department to release all Epstein-related documents. That deadline came and went. Bondi blew right past it. And her explanation? The task is too massive, millions of pages to review, victim identities to protect. They can't just dump everything without careful consideration. On the surface, those sound like reasonable concerns. But here's the problem. It's now months later, and Bondi has released approximately 1% of the files. 1%. And what little she has put out is so heavily redacted that it reveals virtually nothing of substance. So the "we need more time" excuse starts looking an awful lot like we're hiding something. And Congress has noticed. Representative Summer Lee introduced an amendment to hold Bondi in civil contempt for failing to comply with an oversight committee subpoena. The committee demanded full, unredacted Epstein files. Bondi hasn't provided them. So Democrats are moving to formally hold her in contempt of Congress, which carries potential penalties including fines and even referral for criminal prosecution. But here's where it gets really interesting. It's not just Democrats pushing this. Republican Thomas Massie, along with Democrat Khanna, threatened to use something called inherent contempt against Bondi. Inherent contempt is Congress's own enforcement power. It doesn't require going through courts or the Justice Department. Congress can literally arrest people itself under this power, can hold them in the Capitol building until they comply, can impose daily fines that accumulate until the documents appear. It's an ancient authority that hasn't been used in about a century, but it exists, and Massie and Khanna are threatening to use it, accusing Bondi of disregarding the spirit and letter of the law, of concealing names of powerful Epstein associates, of slow-walking transparency to protect people who should be exposed. Think about what that means for a second. You have a Republican congressman, a conservative who isn't exactly known for being anti-Trump, joining with a Democrat to threaten the Attorney General with arrest. That's not partisan squabbling anymore. That's bipartisan consensus that Bondi is stalling inappropriately. And that consensus destroys whatever political cover she might have had. She can't claim this is just Democrats attacking Trump. She can't say Congress is being unreasonable. When both parties are saying the same thing, when both parties are threatening the same consequences, the excuses ring hollow. And then there are the courts. A federal judge just ordered expedited processing of records about the Justice Department's Epstein decisions. Specifically, the judge wants to know whether Bondi misled the public when she claimed the client list was on her desk, and whether the DOJ reversed plans to release more files after discovering Trump's name appeared in them. That's a judge saying, "I want answers about whether you're covering up for the president. I want to know if you lied about having files ready to release, and I want those answers quickly. No more delays. Expedited processing means move fast. Produce documents soon. Stop dragging your feet." So Bondi is caught in a pincer movement. Courts ordering faster production. Congress threatening contempt. Both parties demanding transparency. And she's still stalling, still making excuses, still refusing to release the full files. The question everyone's asking is why? If the delay is really about protecting victims and doing careful review, why not show your work? Why not explain specifically what you're redacting and why? Why not release more files even if they're redacted? The fact that she's releasing almost nothing, that only 1% is out and heavily redacted, suggests this isn't about victim protection. This is about protecting powerful people whose names are in those files. And people suspect Trump is one of them. Now let's talk about the viral claims that Bondi faces immediate arrest. Fact-checkers have looked into this and found no evidence that any judge has actually issued an arrest warrant for Bondi. There's no public filing saying federal marshals should take her into custody. So the most dramatic claims that she's about to be handcuffed, that marshals are standing by, that she could be in jail any day now, those are exaggerated. But here's what the fact-checkers miss. The underlying pressure is absolutely real. A judge has ordered expedited processing. Congress is threatening contempt. Daily fines are being discussed. Inherent contempt could lead to arrest by congressional officials. So while there's no literal arrest order today, the situation could escalate to that if Bondi continues refusing to comply. Courts can issue contempt orders that include arrest. Congress can use inherent contempt to detain her. Both paths could theoretically lead to Bondi being taken into custody. So the fear of arrest isn't baseless, even if current arrest order claims are overblown. And this brings us to the central question of the entire saga. What's actually in these files that makes Bondi willing to risk contempt, willing to risk arrest, willing to destroy her career rather than release them? Because if the files just contained information about Epstein's crimes that's already public, if they were mainly details about investigations that wouldn't surprise anyone, there wouldn't be this fight. Bondi would release them with appropriate redactions and move on. The fact that she's fighting this hard, that she's risking everything, suggests the files contain information she really doesn't want public. The obvious suspect is Trump. Trump and Epstein knew each other. That's documented. They socialized. They did business together at times. Trump has admitted they were friendly years ago before Epstein's crimes became public. So it would be shocking if Epstein investigation files didn't mention Trump at all, and the FOIA lawsuit specifically asks whether the DOJ changed its release plans after seeing Trump's name in the files. That question wouldn't be asked unless there's reason to believe Trump's name appears. So the working theory is that Bondi saw Trump mentioned in Epstein files, potentially in damaging contexts, and decided to bury them to protect the president. If that's true, if that's provable, that's the Attorney General obstructing transparency to cover up for Trump. That's political corruption. That's potentially criminal. Let me break down what Bondi is facing from each direction because understanding the full pressure campaign is crucial. From the judicial branch, she has a federal judge demanding expedited processing of records about her decision-making. That means the court wants to know, quickly, whether political considerations affected her transparency decisions. If the judge finds evidence of obstruction, the next step could be contempt findings, fines, and eventually arrest if she continues defying orders. From the legislative branch, she has a contempt resolution moving forward. Summerlee's amendment creates a formal process. If the House votes to hold Bondi in contempt, she's officially sanctioned by Congress. That carries consequences including fines and referral for prosecution. And separate from that, Massie and Khanna are threatening inherent contempt, which bypasses all the normal procedures and allows Congress to directly arrest and detain her. From the public opinion front, she's getting destroyed. Viral videos about potential arrest, even if exaggerated, shape the narrative. People are asking why the Attorney General is fighting so hard to keep Epstein files secret. The assumption is that she's protecting powerful people, and that assumption is damning. And behind all of this is the looming question of what Trump knows and when he knew it. Because Bondi doesn't operate in a vacuum. She was appointed because Trump trusts her to protect him. It's reasonable to assume Trump is involved in decisions about Epstein files. Maybe not micromanaging, but setting the general direction. Don't release anything that hurts us. Protect me. And Bondi following those instructions. Even if Trump never explicitly ordered obstruction, even if it's just understood expectations, the effect is the same. The Attorney General is protecting the president rather than serving the public interest in transparency. If that's provable, if there are records showing Trump directed Bondi to withhold files, or if there are witnesses who heard Trump instruct her to protect him, that's obstruction. That's the president using his attorney general to cover up potentially damaging information. And that's impeachable. The victim protection argument Bondi keeps making deserves examination. Epstein's victims absolutely deserve privacy. They deserve to have their identities protected. They shouldn't be re-traumatized by having their names and stories publicized without consent. If Bondi is genuinely doing careful redaction to protect victims, that's appropriate. That's what she should do. But critics argue that's not what's happening. Only 1% of files released. Redactions that seem to go far beyond victim names. It looks like names of powerful people are being redacted under the guise of victim protection. Without transparency about what's being redacted and why, there's no way to evaluate whether Bondi is being honest. And from what reporting suggests, at least some victims want full transparency. They want all the names exposed. They want everyone who enabled or protected Epstein to be publicly identified. So, Bondi claiming to protect victims while those victims want disclosure suggests she's not really acting in their interests. Now let's talk about where this goes from here, because the escalation paths are real and they're converging. Is judicial contempt. If the court orders Bondi to produce specific documents by a specific deadline and she doesn't, the court can hold her in contempt. That starts with fines usually, but if she continues refusing, it can escalate to arrest and detention until she complies. A judge could theoretically order federal marshals to take Bondi into custody. It's rare for officials at her level, but it's legally possible. And given how angry courts seem about Epstein file stalling, it's not impossible. Is congressional inherent contempt. Congress votes to hold Bondi in contempt using its inherent power. Then Congress can order the sergeant-at-arms to arrest her, can hold her in the Capitol, confine her daily. Again, this hasn't been done in modern times, but the power exists, and Massie and Khanna threatening it suggests it's being seriously considered. Bondi could theoretically be arrested by congressional officials and held until she produces the files. Is criminal contempt referral. Congress holds Bondi in contempt and refers her to DOJ for criminal prosecution. Except Bondi runs DOJ, so she'd be referring herself, which obviously doesn't work. But Congress could refer her to a special counsel or independent prosecutor, or a future administration could prosecute her. So criminal charges are possible down the road, even if they're complicated right now. Any of these paths could lead to Bondi actually facing arrest or detention. So while the viral videos claiming immediate arrest are exaggerated, the fear of arrest is based on real escalation possibilities. Bondi is playing chicken with courts and Congress, gambling that they won't actually follow through on arrest threats. But if she's wrong, if they do follow through, she ends up in custody, and that would be unprecedented. The Attorney General arrested for refusing to release Epstein files. That would be a massive scandal that dominates news cycles and destroys whatever credibility Bondi and Trump's DOJ have left. And here's the irony in all of this. Bondi might be overestimating the damage from releasing the files. Trump and Epstein's connection is already public. People know they knew each other. There are photos. There are past statements from Trump about Epstein. Unless the files contain something truly shocking, evidence Trump knew about Epstein's crimes, evidence Trump participated in something illegal, something beyond just they were friendly years ago, the political damage might be limited. Trump's supporters already don't care about his past associations. They've accepted everything else. Why would Epstein connections suddenly matter? But by fighting this hard, by risking contempt and arrest, Bondi makes people think there must be something really damaging in there. Makes the eventual release more anticipated, more newsworthy, more politically damaging than it would have been with quiet release. She's creating the very scandal she's trying to avoid. The bottom line is this. Pam Bondi is trapped. She has a federal judge demanding expedited answers. She has Congress threatening contempt from both parties. She has the public assuming she's hiding something for Trump, and she has no good options left. Release the files and face whatever political fallout comes, or continue refusing and face arrest, detention, fines, and criminal referral. The excuses have run out. The consequences are coming, and the Epstein files are going to come out one way or another. The only question is whether Bondi is still Attorney General when they do, or whether she's in custody watching from a cell as the truth finally emerges.